Hi, drawing. Let's take a look at the supplies that you're going to need for this class. I teach drawing one and two in person, and I also teach online drawing. This is going to be it's going to be comprehensive, so it'll be for all of my classes. If you are in my drawing one and my drawing two class, and I'll just talk about, which supplies. I mean, most of them overlap, but some of them are, exclusively online or face to face. So I'm going to talk about that as I go through the file. So the first thing that I will say is if you are in an in-person drawing class with me, the first thing I recommend that you get is a padlock or a combination lock because the lockers on campus, if you are on campus, go very quickly. Even if you're not on campus, even if you are taking an online class and you have any other art class, the first thing I always recommend to students for any class is to get a combination lock or a padlock because those lockers go quickly. And if you want a good locker, you will do that even ahead of time. Like figure out where your room is and get the locker that is the closest to your room because people who like join late or are slow to get a lock, always get a locker at on the other side of the building or far away from the class. So if that's okay for you, I mean, I personally don't like that because I'm always, I have my own locker now that I'm an instructor. But when I was a student, I hated it because I would always have to walk really far and, with all the stuff in your hand. And I'm the kind of person who's always like running behind. So get a lock, find a locker as soon as you can. In my in-person class, I will talk about that on the first day of class, and somebody remind me if I don't, but that's the first thing I recommend you get, a lock, and find a locker because those go quickly. Okay, so you're probably going to need to spend about $100 to $150 on supplies. Yes, if you have a lot of these supplies already, I don't recommend that you go out and buy them again. I also don't recommend that you buy them all at once. When I was a freshman, I bought everything at once, and a lot of the materials I found I didn't need, I didn't want, I didn't use. There were a lot of them that I did use, and it was good for me to have them on hand. So if you want to approach it that way, you can. You can buy a bunch of materials, and then you'll have them on hand for when you need them. But sometimes sometimes I recommend waiting so that you can figure out, oops, sorry. You can figure out what you need as you need them. So you don't have to, oh, sorry, I was just looking for something. Okay, sorry. You can figure out what you need as you need them. So you don't have to spend a whole bunch of money initially spend a whole bunch of money that you probably won't need to spend. What you're also going to realize is that if you make a buddy in class, sometimes you and your buddy can share materials. There are certain things that I don't recommend sharing because you're going to go through those materials more quickly than other materials. But like I said, aim for 100 to 150. There is a chance that you can spend a little less or even a little more if you're the kind of person who likes to just have supplies on hand. So, and sometimes people leave things behind and you can find things around in the building that have been abandoned or thrown away. So just throwing that out there. I know you guys are students and probably don't have a lot of money, so I just want you guys to be aware of that. Okay, so essential supplies. Let me see. I hope all these links are live. I tried to check them. A drawing board. Now, let me open this up in Google. A lot of times in the classroom, depending on the school that you're in, they will have drawing boards and you will see them. And if the school has a drawing board, there is No need to buy, there's no need to buy one for yourself. A lot of places, have kits. They'll send you a kit and it has everything in the kit. Again, I don't like to do that because sometimes I just I don't like kits because, you guys should be researching this stuff. And if you really are, some of you are probably taking these as an elective class, so it doesn't really matter, but you should, be looking at your supplies and knowing what you're getting. If you buy a kit, everything is just in there and it's like $100. It ends up being cheaper sometimes, but I don't really like to do kits. Anyway, so the drawing boards, some places will have them in the classroom, and we'll talk about that. I'm going to go over this all again. This is just for those of you who want to revisit this. But if they have them in the classroom, you don't need to buy them. If they don't have them in the classroom and you want to buy, like for the online, if you're taking my class online, you're going to need a drawing board because there is no classroom for you to have, or something similar to a drawing board. It doesn't have to be a drawing board. It can be, again, a piece of masonite, or I wouldn't recommend cardboard. I would recommend something a little bit more, rigid and stable than cardboard, but something to lean your pad up against, something to tape your page on, a surface to draw. If you have smooth walls, you could use smooth walls and layer up on paper, but it's good to have this drawing board. So that's the first thing. And then a drawing pad. Let's open this up. This you're definitely going to need. Everybody is going to need one. I do not recommend sharing this with anybody because we go through this paper very quickly. Not quickly, but this is what we're using for most of the class. For my in-person class, we have butcher paper, which we'll do other drawings on that we won't really do an online class in my online class because it's just a little bit of a different class. But everybody's going to need an 18 by 24 inch drawing pad, 80-pound paper, could be 70-pound, but I recommend 80-pound. And that's essential. I would not share this with anybody because you're going to use it. You're going to use a lot of it. Newsprint. You're going to need some newsprint. Those of you who are online, less so. You can use your nice drawing paper for the newsprint exercises, but the newsprint is cheaper. So even if you online, get a cheap pad, get a pad which has only like minimal sheet. Like you probably don't need 120 sheets, but I would recommend having some. It's just, you're not going to use it as much as the drawing pad. It's just, I recommend getting it. You probably won't use a lot of it, but I do recommend getting it because I will tell you to use newsprint, and, you can, I don't know, buy the pad with the least amount of sheets. If you're in my in-person class, my face-to-face class, you are going to need newsprint. You can probably share this with a buddy. So, yeah, to kind of cut down the cost, but you are going to need newsprint. So if you are sharing with a buddy, get a big pad and just, you can split it with your neighbor. Sketch pad. Again, if you are in my in-person class, you are going to need a sketch pad. I highly recommend getting an 11 by 14 heavyweight 80-pound paper. But if you already have an 11 by 9, that is okay. Do not go smaller than 11 by 9. A lot of times people will get an 11 by 9 because it's easier to carry in their book bags, and that's okay too. I prefer that you get an 11 by 14 because it gives you more space to sketch on. But if you get an 11 by 9, or if you have an 11 by 9 already, that is all right. Especially if you're going to use it. I really want you to use the sketch pad. We're going to do some prompts, more so in my face-to-face class than we are in my online class. So just make sure you have some sketch pad that you use, that you want to use, that's bigger than 11 by 9. Again, I recommend getting an 11 by 14, but 11 by 9 is acceptable if you're going to use it more. Okay, charcoal. I kind of should have, well, doesn't matter. Okay. Actually, I'm going to reorder this when I put up the PDF for you guys, but let's go to, I'm going to go to pencils first, and then I'm going to go to charcoal. Hopefully I remember to go back. Okay. Lead pencils. Now, I recommend, let me not open this, 6B, get 2 or 3 because they go quickly. It's a soft lead, so when you're drawing, you don't want to be drawing with a hard lead. Some people prefer it. I really recommend a 6B. A 6B is a great place to start. You can press hard, you can barely put any pressure on the paper and get good line quality and mark making with a 6B. So that's really my recommendation. I really recommend starting with 6B. Some people like to draw with like really hard lead, which I feel like that's drawing, like, I feel like that's the equivalent of like scratching a chalkboard. You guys, well, we don't have chalkboards anymore. It's mostly dry erase, but yeah, I don't know. I don't like drawing with hard leads. You're going to see what you like. 6B pencils are cheap. So I really recommend, just, you have to have a 6B pencil. You have to just have at least one. If you don't like it, you can switch. They're like $1. So the kinds that I like, and actually, hold on one second. Okay, sorry, I had to just change my file for a second. Okay, so the kinds, 6B pencils, these are, you know, I actually, these are good. These are good. The Faber-Castell ones are good. The ones that I like personally are, hopefully this works. These ones, those are my favorite. Sorry, Michaels, I'm not taking your coupon. These are my favorite. They're very soft. I really love this brand for 6B pencils. So, and they actually have some different ones that feel like, I don't know, they're just, last semester I had somebody had, like, I don't know, some strange ones, but I recommend either of those 2 brands. Let's see if I can pull them up here. This brand, the Faber-Castell, or the Staedtler. I like the blue ones better, but get both. See which one you like. If you have one, try that one. Try all different things. Get 3 different ones if you want. See which ones you like the best. But you definitely have to have at least one, because I have everybody start with a 6B pencil, because I think it's just a good way to get a wide variety of mark making. That said, I'm going to jump down here to good sharpener, because you're definitely going to need a sharpener. There is, okay, this is the one that I recommend, because you can get 3 or 4 different points with this. These sharpeners are great. They're really good. And you can expose, like, traditionally, or like a lot of times you'll see people shaving their pencils down with a blade to get this kind of tip, but to expose like more of the lead, so you can use the side of the lead to kind of do like wide marks. But these sharpeners will do it for you. So I highly recommend that particular sharpener. Okay, I'm jumping around. Hopefully I can keep track here. Bic mechanical pencils, just a regular Bic mechanical pencils. Those are great to have. I use them all the time. I have like 1,000 of them laying around my house. They're good for perspective, and they're just good for sketching. I think they are great for sketching. You don't have to sharpen them. And they're just, I mean, you know, whatever, if you have a mechanical pencil that you like to use, don't go out obviously and buy a Bic pencil, but it's just Bic pencils, or mechanical pencils in general, are pretty soft lead. Don't get a hard lead, but they're pretty versatile. Okay, black Sharpies and Micron pens. And then I'm gonna, after I get through this, I'm gonna go back up to the charcoal. Hopefully I don't forget. Okay, so just regular black Sharpies, get a chunky one. They have like 1, 2, 3. They have like four different kinds. They have like our chiseled one, a fat one, the regular Sharpie marker that you're used to, and then they have 2 fine tip Sharpie types. They have one that's like a ballpoint almost, and then they have one that's kind of like a felt tip. Again, I recommend getting as many as you can, one of each. They're not that expensive. These I recommend getting as many as you can. In Micron pens, these are a little bit more expensive. You can try, try Neighbors, see what they have. I bought a pack. I bought like a 12 pack. I couldn't find it here, but there's like a 12 pack that has like a lot. This is the brand I would recommend getting Micron pens for really fine tip, fine points, fine lines. If you're doing it in your sketchbook, you're going to have to use, a variety. If you just have the Sharpies, that's okay, but you are going to have to use a variety of different lines. But I recommend these if you're doing really fine work. Some people really like to do fine work. You don't have to have the Micron pens. You'll make it okay. If you have a chisel tip, and a regular Sharpie and a fine point Sharpie, if you have 3 Sharpies, they come in 3 different sizes, but 5 different varieties, you will be okay with just the Sharpies. But I do recommend if you can, where's my, oh, here. If you can splurge, Micron pens are really nice. So 3, I would recommend at the very minimum, 3 Sharpies, a chunky Sharpie, a regular Sharpie, and a fine tip Sharpie at the very, very least. That's what I recommend. That's going to be your most economical choice. Okay, soft vinyl eraser. Let's open that up. Okay, no pink, my dad has like this drawer with all sorts of like really old like stationery. Don't pull out the dry, crusty pink eraser that's been in there for like 20 years because that's just going to make a mess on your page. This is a plastic vinyl eraser. These are great, but it also you're also going to need let's see, a gray kneaded eraser, which is going to be for your charcoal. And let me see something. Let me just quickly search on here. Let's see something. So this is, you're going to need this for charcoal, and these things these are the ones that you can kind of like make little sculptures out of. They're really super cheap. Look at that. You can just go to, depending on where you are, just go to your local art supply store or any Blick or any, Michaels will have it. I recommend supporting small and local if you can. Sometimes they have better deals depending on where you are. What I really like too are the, let me just search this, triangle erasers. Oops, can't spell, triangle erasers. And I'll try to remember to update this too. They have these like really soft, these guys, I love these guys. These are like my favorite. These are my favorite erasers. I love them. I don't know. I just think I like them. They also make them in like weird shapes, like, like oval shapes. Can't remember the brand. Let me search this. Hold on, I'm gonna pause this for a second. Okay, here we go. The brand or the style is the Factus eraser. I spelled it wrong here. I love these erasers. They're just soft, and you can buy them in triangles, you can buy them in ovals, you can buy them in circles. I don't know. I just think I like them a lot. So you're gonna need that, and here's one. Here's a vinyl, the vinyl style of a Factus eraser, and they have triangle ones, and they have just nice. I like their stuff. Okay, hold on. What else? A gray kneaded eraser. Talked about that. That's for charcoal. You're gonna smudge charcoal with that, and then blue painter's tape. Now, I recommend any brand, Scotch brands. I don't recommend. There's like another brand of blue painter's tape that's a little darker, and it's got a little more texture. I don't recommend the one that's darker and that has more texture. I like Scotch. Excuse me. I like Scotch. It works. It's just better. It's just better. And let's see. What else? Hold on. You can get this width, which is it's like almost an inch, or you can get the thicker stuff. Sometimes, depending on where you are, the classroom will have some. You can use that too, but I recommend kind of getting your own. I don't know. I recommend getting your own supplies. You're gonna have to have some of your own supplies. We have some things that we can, if you're in my in-person class, there are some supplies that we have that you can use, but I recommend getting your own stuff anyway, and you're not gonna have, the classroom can't supply everything for you, so you're gonna have to have some of your own supplies. Okay, so let's jump back to the charcoal. So you are going to need vine charcoal, compressed charcoal, charcoal powder. I'm gonna provide for you because it's so messy. Foam brushes, and so let's just open each one and look at them. This is vine charcoal. You want soft vine charcoal. You do not want hard vine charcoal, and you don't want hard. Let me go to the other one too. You don't want hard compressed charcoal either. The vine charcoal is it's lighter. You're going to get lighter marks with it, and it's much more forgiving. You can pick it up off the page a lot more easily than you can with compressed charcoal. Now, compressed charcoal, once you put compressed charcoal down on your page, you're not going to get it off 100%. Vine charcoal will come off, and you might see a little bit, but it's not like this stuff. This is basically like a black chalk pastel. And this is the brand that I actually recommend. Get soft, don't get hard. Don't get hard for either of them, because you're gonna, again, it's gonna be like scratching your nails on a chalkboard. It's just not gonna be very nice to draw, and you're not gonna get very dark marks. You're not gonna have versatility with it. If you get the softer kind, you can draw a little lighter and still go darker. But if you get the harder kind, you cannot draw harder and get darker marks. You're just going to make the marks more permanent. So make sure everything that you get is soft. You want soft lead, soft charcoal, soft vine charcoal, and soft compressed charcoal. So that's the difference between those two kinds of charcoal. Let's see. The charcoal powder, I'm just going to show you what it looks like. This is the brand that I recommend. They have lots of other, knockoff brands. That's the brand I recommend. It's Generals. Generals is a good, artist brand. We're going to be using it to cover the paper. If you are in my online class, let me just make sure that I'm all... Okay, if you are in my online class, you can buy this to cover your page, but you don't have to. It's very messy. It's very messy. You don't want to breathe this stuff in. But if you're in my online class, you can use vine charcoal to cover your page. Don't use compressed charcoal, because that's just not what you want. You want, well, actually, I will say, let me just backtrack a little bit. Any charcoal is going to be messy. So if you are in my online class, make sure that you are doing this like in a garage or outside or in a room that you can sweep up easily. Don't wear white clothes. Don't bring your Gucci bag or whatever it is. I don't know. Don't bring your designer bag and your designer shoes and your designer clothes to class, because you're just going to get messy. It's just going to make a mess. Cover everything. If you are using, well, you don't want to breathe any of the charcoal in, but if you are using charcoal powder, it is very, it has the tendency to be airborne. So it just kind of, you'll see when we get there. So if you are going to use it, especially at home where you don't have me reminding you, don't breathe it in, do it outside. And let me go back to my list here. Charcoal powder, again, I will provide it for you in the classroom. Don't breathe it in. You need a mask, okay? When you're using this stuff, please wear a mask. Please bring a mask. Everybody has masks. They're all left over from the pandemic. Bring a mask. Don't breathe it in, because it's gross. It's gross. You really don't want to breathe it in. It's not good for you, and it's disgusting. But you get really good results with it. So once it's on the paper, it's not so bad. It's just when you're applying it and it's like you're kicking up all the dust, and it's like you have to cover the page from edge to edge. So that's the messy part. So that's when you really want to wear your mask. Once everything is on the page and settled, it's less messy. But when you're applying it, you really want to just wear a mask. You're going to need foam brushes. These are cheap. When you are applying it, I recommend applying it. Let me open this window up. I recommend applying it with this big brush, and then using the medium brushes and the smaller brushes for detail, and to kind of, well, we'll talk about it when we get there. This is when we do value. We're not doing this until a little bit later on in the semester, probably like 3/4 of the way, depending if you're in my drawing 2 class. You guys are going to use it faster because we're going to move through. It's going to be a review, and we're going to move faster through the class. You should have, actually, if you took drawing 2, if you took drawing 1 with me, you should have a lot of these supplies already, but not most of you have not probably taken drawing 1 with me. Okay, so foam brushes, lead pencils, we did all that stuff. We did. Let's go down to additional supplies. Not really recommended for class. I mean, not really not an essential, but I recommend always having one of these guys. Just these help. This style of blade is the style that I like, because you can snap these pieces off. It's not like a box cutter where you need a screwdriver to, let me open up what I'm talking about. Box cutter. I hate these things because you need a screwdriver to change the blade. And it's like, I don't carry around a screwdriver with me, do you? You could probably find one in the art building. I'm sure you could, but you'd have to walk all the way to the shop, right? So if you do get a blade or a knife or utility knife, these are always the kinds that I recommend because you can always snap off the end and have a nice fresh blade. They might be a little more expensive, but I'm telling you, it's worth it. Actually, I think they're the same price, but I think the blades are a little bit more expensive, but it's well worth it. So that's what I recommend in terms of utility knives. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, hold on a second. This is an X-Acto blade. For those of you who don't know what an X-Acto blade is, I do recommend getting the X-Acto brand for, I actually recommend the blades, the refill blades, and the actual, like, the knife, I don't know, the part that you screw the blade into. I do actually recommend the brand. You can get, I mean, the other things are okay. Definitely, I will say, if you were going to get anything, I would get the actual replacement blades. I always recommend getting X-Acto blade replacement blades because, and it's size 11, because they're better. They're just better quality. The tips of the blades, these little tips right here will all break off, but I find that these are, they break off like not as quickly as the like the other brands. So I do recommend X-Acto knife blade replacements, but the actual handle doesn't really matter. I always go with the brand because it's not really that much money, and I just go with it. Ink. Okay, ink. Let's see what I have for ink. I don't even remember what I have on here. Here's Higgins. Again, if you're in my online class, you're probably well, it depends on what you're going to do for your final project. If you have a bottle of, this is like India ink, you can use this. This is more for, I don't really use a lot of ink in my class, but if you have some, bring it in. If you like to use it and you're familiar with how to use it, you're welcome to use it for your independent and your, we're going to do like texture. Sometimes I do texture and with value, and sometimes for your independent projects. If you want to use India ink, you can. These are just the Micron pens. Again, I'm going to close some of these windows because we have a lot of windows open here. So let me just close all these out here. So ink and Micron pens, again, they're listed twice. I think this is actually the generic brand, which again, Micron pens, I kind of recommend. Micron pens also, I will say they run out of ink much more quickly than Sharpies do. Although Sharpies run out too, but they're smaller and they have less in the cartridges inside the pen. So that's why I recommend for sketchbooks. I recommend those for sketchbooks more than, bigger paper, but it really depends on what you're doing and what you like to use. Okay, so my online class, if you are in person, we are going to have easels in the classroom. If you are online, I recommend, somebody had asked me in my feedback area, I asked them to say, oh, well, what would you recommend me changing? They recommended that I recommend to you guys, if you are in my online class, to get an easel, because I have you guys lean these things up against the wall, and it just sometimes helps. It sometimes helps to have them upright, if you don't have a wall or a chair. And this is I don't know. I really don't know. I don't use these very often. So you might have to go and do like a little experimenting, or a little, research on like a portable, let's see, like let's do portable easel for drawing. You're gonna have to kind of look at what you think is gonna work for you. I always recommend just taping it up to your drawing board, using a chair, using like a regular wooden chair, and then putting like a heavy book at the bottom of it so that it doesn't slip, or like like if you have like hand weights or something like that. But somebody recommended that I recommend getting an easel. So if you want an easel, I would look for a little small one, because I am going to ask you to put this looks like it might be good. It's got to accommodate 18 by 24, because you are going to have your work upright. I'm going to ask you to draw upright, not like sitting with it in your lap. I'm going to ask you to put your work upright, and then to kind of stand at your work as you draw, so you're not drawing like you're sitting at a desk. So that's a recommendation, optional but helpful supplies. Sandpaper sharpener. These are basically to sharpen the tip of, like, if you want a sharper tip, like if the pencil is worn down at the bottom, but you don't want to sharpen the whole pencil, you can kind of scrape the pencil against these sandpaper things. I don't know what they're called. Sandpaper lead pointer. It's exactly what you're trying to get a sharper point. So that's what these are for. And I can, when we get there, I'll show you how to do it. You can use these for charcoal too. You don't only have to use them for pencil or lead. What else do we have? Excuse me. Chamois. I think that's how you say it. It's French, right? The S is silent. This is good. It's good to have one of these for kind of wiping up. Well, this is saying, I don't know. This is saying it's for ceramics, but it's good to have one of these for kind of wiping up and blending, like, I don't know, I would say compressed charcoal, but you can use paper towels alternatively. You will. I cannot guarantee that the classroom or the building are going to have paper towels, because, well, can't guarantee that, right? But you can use paper towels. A Tortillon paper stick. These are for also for smudging. You can buy them in a kit. They're for smudging charcoal. If you buy, sorry, I'm moving around a lot here. If you buy these, you have, and actually, these you can clean these with the sandpaper sharpener. That's another way you can use a sandpaper sharpener. You can clean them and you can sharpen the tip of these paper stick smudgers. You get nice detail with these little points. So I do, recommend having one or two, maybe share with a classmate. And again, you can buy a kit. I don't like kits, like I said, but you can buy a kit if you want. Alternatively, you can use Q-tips. They're just not as, they're more ubiquitous, but they're not as, you're not going to get the detail that you're going to get with paper sticks, right? Eraser bags. Here's just, I don't think any of you are going to get these. If you're a drafts person and you've taken technical drawing, these are great because it helps. These are good for perspective. It's just basically eraser crumbs. Like when you erase, they collect those crumbs and they put it in they put it in this like sock thing, and then they like serge the tops together or sew. If you don't know what serging is, that's just basically a serge edge. But and it helps to clean your paper off. If you're like one of those, if you're very neat about your surfaces, it will clean the clean the white parts of your paper off. You don't need it, but if you are a drafts person, if you do architecture or anything, those are good to have. Ruler for perspective. I don't let you guys use straight edges, so you're not going to be tracing that edge, but I do let you make a mark. I do let you guys use rulers. You can also use a string. I let you guys use rulers and string for figuring out the trajectory of a perspective line. I don't let you use the edges, not for this class. I have everybody draw a freehand in drawing because that's, well, we'll discuss it when we get to class. Drawing is, you know, you're supposed to be training your body, training your arm, training your hand, training your wrist to do what you wanted to do. So you're supposed to be working on that hand-eye coordination. So I don't let you use a ruler for tracing, but I do let you use it as a guide. A drafting brush or a fluffy, soft bristle brush. These, if you have like a big paintbrush that has very soft bristles, that would work very well too. This is just for wiping. You know, I really find these to be useful. A lot of people borrow mine in class. I don't know if I'm going to have mine in class. It depends on where I am, but they're very useful. The bigger ones, I find the bigger ones are, this is a 15-inch. This is a good one. I find them to be more helpful, more useful. Again, not a necessity, but if you have one, or if your parents are, you know, architects or designers or anything like that, bring it in. Good to have. They're good to have. Or again, a paintbrush with a big paintbrush with soft, fluffy bristles. Soft, fluffy bristles. It's useful. It's useful to have in class. Okay, eraser shield. Again, not something that you're gonna need. These are like, actually they're $4 on Amazon. You can buy these for like 67 cents at like a local arts and craft store. Usually, mine was like 67 cents. I have a lot of these. Again, I don't know where I'm going to be. It depends on where I'm teaching. So don't expect me to have all of your supplies or any of these supplies, because it really depends on where I am. I teach at a lot of places. So, best thing to do is to get your own supplies. Okay. So let me just make sure, okay, I'm just looking over the online versus face-to-face. Okay, so for the independent projects and drawing 2, now online, you guys are going to have, if I am not mistaken, a final project that you are going to have to choose your material for a value project. You can, okay, gets a little squirrely here. So for drawing 1, and drawing 2. Well, let's start with drawing 1. Drawing 1, you can use, so anything that you have that you like to draw with, I would bring it in, hold it, put it aside, put it in your locker. Ask me ahead of time when we get to the end of the semester if you want to use these materials, because you know, what's the point of going out and buying stuff? Like you'll figure out what you want to use, but if you have something that you already want to use, put it aside and ask me. You can use pens, any of the materials that I talked about. A lot of people like to do ink, I have found. But that kind of dips me into this next part. Color. If you are in drawing 1 or in drawing 2, please limit your color usage for your, and again, we'll talk about this. Don't go crazy buying like a whole set of alcohol markers or like, you know, pastels or whatever it is that you're thinking of getting for color, because I use in all of my drawing classes, I really don't dive too deep into color, because color is a completely different, it's like a different beast. And really in drawing, I'm paying attention to like the most basic elements of a two-dimensional image, you know, composition, scale, mark making, texture, things that are focused on drawing. Color is something different. So if you are in drawing 1, or if you are, let me repeat, if you are in face-to-face drawing 1 or drawing 2, I will let you use some color, but you're going to be using it minimally, and I'm going to have you guys use like one color combination, and that's it. So if you're only going to be doing like max 3 colors, if that. Probably I will push you towards 2 colors. If you are in my online drawing class, we do not, unfortunately, use color because, you know, a studio drawing class online is tricky enough because it is online. There's an element that you don't get. There's an element to the class that you don't get online that you do get in person. So I don't allow you guys, I hate to say I don't allow you guys, but I ask you guys not to use color for your final projects when you're in my online drawing class, because it's just different. So those of you who are taking it in person, if you are taking my class in person, you will have a little bit more leeway with color, just a little bit more, not even that much. Again, drawing 2, you're going to have a little bit more than drawing 1, but if you are in my online class, I do ask that you use black and white and keep it to gray tones. So for the independent projects and drawing 2, I'm sorry, well, I'm going to change this to clarify, but for everybody's going to have an independent project or a choice project at the end of the semester. And for this project, you're going to use your choice of materials depending on your assignment. So figure out as you're, keep that in mind as you're going along the class. Figure out what material you like to use the best, because that's the material that you're gonna probably pick. Maybe not, depends on who you are. You might want to challenge yourself, but you're probably gonna want to pick the material that you like to use for your independent projects at the end of the semester. Again, drawing 2, you guys have more independent work. I'm gonna get into that separately, but you're going to have more independent projects. So you're going to have more materials that you're going to want to use. And yes, I will talk about that when we go over the class schedule and the class topics and all that stuff in the syllabus. On the first day of class, I'll probably record it as well. So, okay, I'm going to stop here. These are your supplies. This is what you need. We will talk about this again in class, but now you have it on video, and this is also for those of you who add the class late. If you guys have questions, email me. Do not send me a message on the learning management system, which for most of you is Canvas. Some of you, if you are depends on what class you're in. Most of you, it's going to be Canvas. Some of you, it's going to be the LMS, depending on what school you're in. But email me, send me an email. Don't send me a message on the learning management systems AKA Canvas, because I don't read those. So email me if you have questions, and I will see you either online or in class.